This is a piece of 1050 medium carbon steel, what I use for my hammers. I want to use this piece of D2 steel to make and try out a hammer eye chisel. Try a slightly different way to start a hammer eye. I need to thank Gary Johnson and Rod Bambauer for their generous donations, helping to keep the channel rolling. Thanks a lot, fellas. I want this to be beveled on one side only, and have the bevel a bit hollow, but maybe not as much as I've drawn here, if you can even see that. This is going to be a bear. Air hardening steels like this D2 or H13 or A2 or maybe S7 are very hard to hand hammer to shape because they maintain high hardness even at high temperature, which is what makes these steels very good for hot use. The face of this hammer is more rounded, so should help me move material a little quicker. A thing I've noticed about this steel is that even if you let it soak in the forge for a long while, it never seems to get beyond a certain color or temperature. There were a few heats I didn't show, to not bore you to death. So maybe you could just grind, though even that's not easy. But many old-timers believe that hammering to shape improves the structure of the steel, and I believe there's science to support this, though modern steels probably complicate this theory. This is getting too close for comfort. For this sort of tool, it's a trade-off between thin enough to easily penetrate, but thick enough to hold up and not deform. This progressively hammering the edge with 3 lighter blows as the steel cools is what old-timers called packing the steel. Many advanced blade makers employ this technique. I just set it aside until cool. A little bit of curve or smile on the edge will help it hold up better. For the first heat, I just go easy and make sure I'm on my marks. It's a little slower on the go than I thought, but I'm trying to use it sort of like a woodworking chisel, sort of the same concept. And to this point, the chisel edge is holding up really well. No matter what style of chisels, punches, and drifts you have, forming a hammer eye by hand hammering is not an easy task. It takes a lot of heats and patience. And that being said, now I'm sure there's someone who'll say I do this in 1 or 2 heats. And if so, more power to you. I'm working it like this and angling the chisel because I want to remove little slivers as I go along. So I realize I need to spread the eye more to better use my chisel and to make headway. This simple drift will work well. These are the handheld slitters I would normally use. the jury is still out if the chisel is better. So at this point, I'm more than halfway through, and so I'll work it from the other side. I was hoping to remove some material all in small slivers, but it bunched up a bit and was hung up on the front and back ends, and so I used this slender punch for a couple of taps. Still a lot more to do to complete this hammer, but the hardest part, for me at least, is done. So here are my final thoughts. The chisel has potential. I think the bevel needs to be at a slightly larger angle to spread as it cuts, and so maybe avoid using a drift as I did. Lastly, making and using this chisel has given me another idea for yet another chisel. To be continued. Catch you guys next time.